Hey guys, just checking I'm live on. I'm checking my laptop's fully charged. Yep. I want to check I'm live on Facebook as well. Yep, looks like I'm live on Facebook, and I'm focusing on the YouTube screen. Going on Facebook and YouTube as per usual. And it's your boy M.K.S here back in another video. And welcome to the second part of my shopping list for Christmas, my Christmas shopping list, or however you want to put it. Yeah, this is the second part. I often when I make these videos, I think I hope I don't forget something, or I hope I don't forget anything or whatever. But anyway, these are pointers number 11 to 20. Luckily, I had a nice meal, a nice Indian meal, paneer again, which I ate yesterday. I mentioned it's like a soft cheese with naan, really tasty, very spicy though. Hot and spicy, but yeah, nice life story. So probably making you hungry as well, if you're not eating already at the moment, but or whatever. But so you're not eating. But anyway, these are pointers number 11 to 20. So number 11, I'd like to think about things I would like to change about the world. One thing I'd love to is walking. I don't walk as much as I used to because I often take too much on and get too tired and things like that. So there is that, and I'm not sure if I want to join a walking group because I like to walk by myself sometimes, so most of the time. So I don't know, and also I'm a bit of a commitment phobe. I don't know if I'd commit to something like that. But think about things I would love to change about the world, and I talk about changing perceptions of dyslexia and things like that. But one of the things I was thinking about Italian football and how I'd love to. I know I talked about how I would love to encourage investment and sponsorship and funding and that kind of thing into Italian football and that kind of thing, but as well as Celtic. But I was thinking the people who run the Italian FA, the people who run the board or whatever. I was thinking, what if they could be replaced by former footballers? So what if the former footballers like Del Piero, Roberto Baggio, sorry for those who are not into football, but I was thinking, I don't be too narcissistic, but I mean, most of my goals, I like to think my causes are about helping other people. My goals as part of my causes, I like to focus on. I put the words cause in speech marks because it's like I'm using the term a bit loosely, but so I just say my causes and that kind of thing. But I like to think most of them are about helping others, helping animals and living things, and I'd love to talk about how people can make the world a better place for each other and also for animals. I talk about like the helpful group, an idea of mine for people who are like volunteers, serving their community, and that kind of thing, as an idea of mine that I want to promote these ideas, and just from an idea, hopefully other people who are more practical than me put it into practice. I guess put them into practice. There's loads I'm thinking about dyslexia. That's one thing I'm wondering, how many points should I cover in each thing, because certain numbers don't remind me of certain things or whatever. But trying to remember my train of thought. With the Italian football thing, so I'm jumping on point, I apologise. But with the Italian football thing, so going back to that, I'd love for them to replace the board, people like Gravina and the people involved in the board. I'd love for the fans to say, we want you out because you failed to qualify for 2 World Cups in a row, and you're struggling to qualify for the third. So there's a bit more I want to say on the my Christmas shopping list for Italian football, and also, as I say, for Celtic, and about dyslexia awareness and changing perceptions of dyslexia as well. With Celtic, I'd love to see change, but I'd love to ask. And I've asked a few times, like Celtic sports, Celtic fans or whatever, and I've asked the Celtic fans like in videos, and I suppose I'm repeating some of the things I've said before, which is one thing I'm wary of. But I'd love to know from Celtic Sports what's on their shopping list for the club. But they talk about replacing the board, a lot of Celtic Sports, and they don't want wealthy Arabs or like those with oil money, sovereign wealth funds like the Saudis or whatever, investing But then I often mentioned, again, sorry for repeating myself, but how do you get like the level they want to get to compete in Europe and internationally and that kind of thing, or at least in Europe, without that investment? I would certainly welcome that investment, especially if they donated like 10% of whatever they were investing into, or if the club. I love for the club to have an account, Celtic as well as Italian clubs, to have an account which reinvested like 10% into buying better players, 10% into youth academies, and 10% into the foundation, the club's foundation, the charitable work it does, as well as the marketing and branding of the club and supports clubs like CSC, Celtic Sports Clubs, and things like that, and academies overseas and that kind of thing. But similar for Italian teams. But try to remember if there's anything I was going to say. I know, I mean, it's difficult because I don't really want to get rid of the manager. I really want him to turn it around. But again, with the board, I wonder how, if they don't want to replace, who would they replace the board with? I wonder if the fans could come together and all co-run the club, but also including celebrity fans like Rod Stewart, Snoop Dogg, and others, rather than so they would have the pockets to reinvest in the club, along with they would have the money to invest in the club as well. But hopefully, but yeah, I'd love to know what different people's views are on that as well. Moving on, number 12. I recently remembered an idea. I was going to include this in point number 11, talking about changing perceptions, but it would hopefully motivate a lot of people. But with dyslexia, and I was thinking, I'd love to empower people, including dyslexics, and help others, and make the world a better place for animals as well. Like teach people how to look after animals and that kind of thing. But yeah, I thought of an idea I call the 3 dyslexic sharks and 3 dyslexic dragons, which is about the show The Shark Tank in America and the British equivalent, The Dragon's Den, which I think was founded by a Japanese guy or something like that. But at one point, 3 of the dragons and 3 of the sharks were all dyslexic. I think at the moment, as far as I'm aware, the ones in America are still on the show, but there's basically, in Britain, there's Peter Jones, who I think is still on the show, Duncan Bannatyne and Theo Paphitis, but the latter 2 left the show. And then there's Barbara Corcoran, Kevin O'Leary, and Damon John in America, so hence the 3 dyslexic dragons and the 3 dyslexic sharks. And I thought of an idea about like a project where they could build a brand. Now they might even say we've got enough money, so we don't really need more money, or we could do it for our PR, which would increase money and brand value, and that kind of thing would make more money in the longer term. But sorry, this idea was an idea I had of mine a while back, but I've only just remembered it. So if you like, I create my own language, but create my own words and that kind of thing, my own language. But the idea being that there would be like books, movies, YouTube videos, TikTok videos, puzzles, games, toys, or all sorts of things potentially. Again, they might want to make even more money out of it, or they might want to help to inspire fellow dyslexics, thinking about themselves when they were growing up and how great it would be to find out about motivational dyslexics. So there could be movies where they talk about their life. There could be YouTube videos, a YouTube video for each person. I was going to say character. And I thought like a book could feature a chapter by each dyslexic dragon and triple shark. So people like Kevin O'Leary, Peter Jones, Damon John, and all the rest of them, like each having a chapter in this book and a foreword by someone like Richard Branson or Emma Grede or something like that. And on the subject of Emma Grede, I don't know if I pronounced her surname right, but I was thinking that as a dyslexic woman of colour, she could be someone like the CEO or MD, managing director or chairwoman of this group, or someone like Barbara Corcoran, who can inspire girls with dyslexia as well. People like Theo Paphitis come from a migrant background. I think he's Greek Cypriot, so his family are from Cyprus originally, and he came up from a poor family in East London and pulled himself up through the bootstraps. so to speak, or whatever the saying is. And Duncan Valentine's also from a poorer family, and there's also Damon John, who's black and dyslexic, Kevin O'Leary, whose family are also migrants from Ireland and Lebanon, respectively. So the reason why I mention that is they could inspire people, more diverse people with dyslexia as well, as I mentioned in the past. I hope to talk more about that a bit later, so I'm going to probably move on to point number 13. As I say, from a selfish point of view, just like I said in point number 1 and point number 6, I would love to see what could be done to improve the town football and like the town teams to be co-owned by companies or investors generally which begin with the same letter or letters, as I said before. And sometimes I think of like my fears for Christmas or whatever. Fears things go wrong. People say, a lot of people say Christmas is pagan and all the bad things seem to happen at Christmas. Hopefully I'll be proven wrong this year or something. But yeah, from a selfish point of view, I'd love to see Italian football winning and like winning World Cups and Italian teams winning in Europe and internationally, and that kind of thing. So I suppose I have fears like whether things will change, whether the board's a bit too old school. Apparently, former Italian player Roberto Baggio said that he had a massive plan for the team going forward, but they just completely ignored what he said. Similar with the Celtic manager ignoring what Martin O'Neill said apparently, or not spending enough time with him or changing things so quickly and all that kind of thing. Comes across a bit like old school and a bit arrogant in terms of like not wanting to implement new ideas and be flexible. But yeah, I love for Italian teams to be co-owned by Italian club teams to be co-owned by businesses and other investors that begin with the same letter or letters. In some cases, like Cascade Investments to invest in Cagliari, Berkshire Hathaway to invest in Bologna or Bari, Barclays to invest in Bari, Bloomberg to invest in Bologna, and that kind of thing. But yeah, I look for all possible companies and investment vehicles, investors and whatnot, to invest in those town teams. Number 14. I was thinking about my dreams more generally for football. I suppose I could have said in point before. I talked about being anti-war and that kind of thing, and promoting peace projects and anti-imperialism and that kind of thing. But I love to promote my idea. I know I'm repeating a lot of the ideas I talked about through the year and in the past generally, especially this year. And a recent idea of mine, fairly recent, I can't remember exactly when I came up with it. I know it's this year, but is like for investors that invest in, instead of discouraging investing in the weapons trade and encouraging investing into things like Italian football and Celtic. And I'd love to work with FIFA and UEFA, for instance, talking about how dyslexics and people with mental health problems even could benefit FIFA with innovative ideas and things like cutting corruption, cutting crime through football, or cutting crime in football and through football more generally, looking at how football can be used for the greater good, building bridges through football, basically football for good projects, improving the image of the beautiful game, making it beautiful, taking out the ugly side of the beautiful game, like tackling and booting out, using football analogies, corruption and crime and that kind of thing from football, and again, generally through football. And yeah, I love for myself and other dyslexics to work with FIFA and UEFA and that kind of thing. And I guess I've talked about it in the past, but my top dreams for football I might include actually in. I was going to say include them in point number 15, so I'm probably not much. But I might say them now. But okay, I'll say them in point number 15. Anyway, sorry, point number 15. So yeah, I'd love to see Italy win the most World Cups over time, and I know that's not specific for Christmas, but if I could encourage investors to invest in Italian football and support things like places and spaces for sport, or soccer in this case, and places and spaces for playing and practicing football, then that could go towards helping the Italian national team and Italian club teams. And when it comes to things like Euros, the Olympics, and especially friendlies, it doesn't really bother me. In fact, if Italy lost all our friendlies and even all the Euro games and all the Olympic Games. Although I'd love to get into the Olympics just because it's a chance to give younger players a chance to get to practice, and similar, I suppose, with the Euros, but especially friendlies. I wouldn't really care if we lost all our friendlies. And if we won any Olympics Games and or Euros, it would just be a I was going to say a bias. It would be a bonus. Sorry, that's what I'm looking for. So. It's more important that we win World Cups and things like that. So I'd love for us to turn it around and go on to win the World Cup and hopefully overtake Brazil and become the top footballing nation. And to make up for that, I have a silly little thing where I try and support Brazil's economy to sort of say sorry for winning to help Italy or helping Italy hopefully to overcome you. But yeah, to encourage like places and spaces for Italians to play and practice football in parks, schools, playgrounds, and home, and wherever possible. Everywhere pretty much, or wherever possible, and parents, schools, teachers and whatnot to support that kind of thing. I'd even love to fundraise for giving like Italians, so my favourite figure, 10% of Italians to be able to play football professionally, and if they get an injury or anything like that, they would have like funding which would cover their insurance to mean that they would still have a living to live on if they were no longer able to play football. Well, I guess you've got to be careful about people trying to scam the system, but hopefully Italians will be encouraged to be proud of their team and come together and that kind of thing. Number 16, I'd love to know what's on your Christmas shopping list. And I say I love to use Christmas as a sort of thing to, just like my birthday and other special occasions, to drum up support for my ideas. And I'd love to be able to eat and drink junk food and all that. I don't actually like mince pies or alcohol, which is probably for the best because I'm already overweight and that kind of thing. But I do. Mince pies are probably one of the few unhealthy things that I don't actually like the taste of. Well, dark chocolate I think is supposed to be healthy, but normally I have a sweet tooth and I'm very rebellious with my diet. But luckily for me, I guess I don't like mince pies and I don't like alcohol. But I do drink Pepsi, Coke, tea, hot chocolate, Fanta, fizzy drinks, Schlur, and things like that. So yeah, plenty of fizzy and unhealthy drinks, although non-alcoholic ones. But I talked before about like including in part 1 about if I could make a deal with my maker, I would be able to eat and drink whatever I want without getting ill and that kind of thing. Eat more chocolate and those sort of unhealthy drinks. And maybe use Christmas as an excuse for eating and drinking unhealthily. I don't know if I'm going to change my diet in January though, but also yeah, I would never have to drink water. I probably only want to drink water once more in my life, and that's just to give it a score out of 100 on videos. I'd love to try everything possible, pretty much, and give it a score out of 100, except for 1 or 2 things like getting piercings or tattoos or gender realignment or changing my natural body. Other than that, I'd love to try most things except for smoking, drinking, taking drugs, breaking the law, or stuff like that. If that makes sense. Number 17, as I say, I think of imaginations and imagining empowering dyslexics. Again, I have this idea for a project for the 3 dyslexic dragons and the 3 dyslexic sharks, or for short, the 3 dyslexic dragons and sharks, or whatever. But yeah, things like books, each one could be a different chapter from each dyslexic dragon and or shark respectively. I'd love for them to encourage them to mentor people. So Barbara Gorkin could especially mentor girls with dyslexia, Emma Grede could especially mentor girls, and POC, people of colour and girls of colour of course with dyslexia. Damon John could mentor especially that people with dyslexia. I know he does like Black Entrepreneurship Day and things like that, but it could be something that could put their brand out there even more, even if they didn't make money from these books or whatever, even if they donated the book profits to other dyslexic entrepreneurs, say for instance, or help more dyslexics to become entrepreneurs, or if they didn't feel right about selling the books, so they could, because it would be to inspire dyslexics either to read them themselves or have them read when they're children or whatever, to inspire them. It could still propel their brand, like people talk more about them, which means they're in people's consciousness, which is a good way to market themselves. So even if it's like a lost leading thing, hopefully they'd make more money or whatever over time. They might say, I've got enough money, I never need to spend anymore, but it's just I enjoy coming up with ideas and working on them, or whatever it might be, whatever their goals are. I mean, they could run it as they like. So for instance, Kevin O'Leary could say that's a good idea and become the CEO, or become convinced of the idea and be the CEO, or Barbara Corcoran could be the CEO, or MD, or chairwoman, or whatever. So respectively, they could decide amongst each other like how it's going to be ran. Obviously, I hope they won't argue too much because that could distract from the goals. But they could discuss like how it would work and how it could improve their relation with each other and help them to network even more and share ideas. And hopefully, they'd see a benefit to it, even if it's helping like the younger version of themselves, maybe, and so or their own children or whatever. It's to inspire other dyslexics. But people talk about them more. I love to see how dyslexics can support each other's projects, how we can support each other's businesses, YouTube channels, TikTok, and that kind of thing. When it comes to the Italian football teams that I was talking about, I forgot to mention Torino. As it's a Thursday, especially, and Christmas Day is a Thursday as well. Exactly a week away. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how the dyslexic dragons and the 3 dyslexic dragons and 3 dyslexic sharks could work, and maybe it could even expand to the 3 or more dyslexic dragons and 3 or more dyslexic sharks, because in the future there might be more who join. And I think some people like guest sharks and guest dragons. There's been more with dyslexia, like Kelly Hoppen, Emma Grady, I think, has been a guest shark or guest dragon, I think, and things like that. So it could expand, and it would be interesting to see what could be made of it, what sort of books and movies and YouTube videos and TikToks would be made of it, perhaps, hopefully, in the future, and using like dyslexic talents like imagination and things like that, if you can call that a talent. But yeah, talents and imagination, talents, and that kind of creativity and whatnot. That many dyslexic people have. I know Theo Pavita said he's not that creative, but he loves creatives and he's never come up with an original idea. But yeah, but hopefully it'll benefit them as well as like young children with dyslexia. It might even just be something they feel good at. Another thing I must say is like young dyslexics could pitch to them. I think they've done it. I think some of the sharks, the people who have pitched to sharks in America have been young people, including 1 or 2 with dyslexia as well, and people from minorities and whatnot. But here in Britain, they sometimes have that thing in like children in need. They have like children getting to pitch to the dragons. But yeah, they could have young dyslexics getting to pitch to 3, 4, even all 6 of them, or whatever number. And I think even better would be mentorship, advice, encouragement, and that kind of thing. I guess mentorship includes advice, teaching, training, encouragement, and that kind of thing. But yeah, moving on, number 18, I hope I can make a positive difference to the world. Again, inspiring dyslexics, showing what abilities we have, talents and whatnot. Dyslexics got talent, that kind of thing. Another thing is I love to encourage like people from Africa to unite. I think it'd be interesting to see what Africa could do if they united together. Similar with Asia and other parts of the world, Latin America, Aboriginals, Native Americans, what I call the 6 as well, and that kind of thing. Number 19, I'd love to drum up support for helping Africans in STEM, Aboriginals in STEM, and that kind of thing. And again, promoting my projects or ideas more generally, including empowering dyslexics and whatnot, including empowering dyslexics from Africa and Asia and around the world. And number 20, on that note, I'd love to encourage big companies, especially big tech companies and tea brands like Tetley, Tata, and all that, to IIT could help with Africa to have the AIT, African Institutes of Tech, in return for trade deals. So they'll buy more Indian products, but Africans can go to India and Indians can go and teach in Africa. Africans can go and learn tech in India, and Indians can go and teach and learn from Africans as well, so they can network together. And also Asia and Africa working more together in tech and different projects and that kind of thing. But yeah, I'd love to encourage Microsoft, IBM, NVIDIA, Apple, Amazon, and all the other big tech companies to pump billions into African tech to help them to learn about tech like AI, apps, robotics, and all those sorts of things. So yeah, if people could help me to write letters and things like that, would be pretty cool. And on that note, I'm out, and peace and love.